There are, at least for the moment, 7.5 billion people on the planet, and I had a channel that had 500 plus videos on it that was taken down. So now I'm starting again, and I have one subscriber for my audience. This is going to be a rant / collection of facts that lead to something, as if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, smells like a duck, and waddles like a duck, it's probably a duck. My father was in World War II, and he never recovered. He was a sniper. My brother pushed me over onto him once and pulled a knife on me. And we were at a state fair once, and one of those huge fireworks went up about 40 feet in the air and blew up, and a big fireball was coming straight at us, which was me and my best friend and our two dads. And when we turned around to run, the dads were already 40, 50 feet away behind some concrete going, because they'd been through World War II. So, my father liberated one of the death counts, I guess you call them. And he told me about that, so I have an eyewitness account of the what they were doing there, and I'm not going to talk about that because we're no longer living in a free country, and I can't talk about that. Okay. He was a sniper. Taught me how to be a sniper in case it ever happened again. When I was a boy, he was working on the docks, and he came home one day and said they were loading care packages on the ship, and some of them were completely light, and they got suspicious and opened them, and they were empty. So empty care packages. Yes. What a world. Also, when I was a boy, there was, oh my God, there was war in the Middle East. And there was war and genocide in Africa. But don't worry, Africa, because Canada sent blue-helmeted UN peacekeepers to go between the two sides who were fighting and make a space and say, now, boys, play nice. Naively, I thought, what a great country to live in where we don't go to war, we send peacekeepers. And now we know that peacekeepers are usually the opposite of that, which is news speak from 1984. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. And this is the playbook that the New World Order is using. Fact number 2, how they will get the guns from the American public. They will take a piece of paper that has your school children on it and your gun registry and staple them together, pick up your children from the school, take them to a stadium, and if you give your guns up, you can get your kids back. Plus, everywhere in the world where they've used stadiums to hold people, there's been rape, and more rape, and some murder. And we just say, sorry, they got caught in the crowd. So we have that to look forward to. So having a 303 and 10 packs of ammo isn't going to do you much good if they take your children. Thirdly, these people pouring over the southern border, and as of late yesterday, pouring over the Canadian border. I believe some of them are mercenaries from Africa. And there has been war in Africa since I was 8. So 66 years of war. These people are experienced at war, genocide, killing. Some of them, if they probably grew up in it, that's the way it is. I believe they have been recruited by someone or some group. The governments are no longer in charge. It's the Council on Foreign Relations, World Economic Forum, big banks, billionaires. So I'm surmising they've been offered jobs to be mercenaries. And at some point they will be given uniforms and badges, and they will be used to disarm or genocide the puffy Americans. I don't have a gun. I have a kitchen knife. And there's lots to say about preppers and gun collectors and wackos with neo-Nazi leanings and rebel flags. These are not enough people to protect you from a well-organized army of mercenaries. So sort of a proof of that, if all these, let's just be kind and say thousands of refugees are being flown all over the U.S. at nighttime so no one will see them. How come they're not hanging around the street corners and going through our garbage cans and breaking into our houses because they're starving? There's either no news about that or they are being they are enjoying hospitality somewhere that's keeping them from becoming a problem. So there has always been the posse comitatus law that the U.S. Army cannot be used against U.S. citizens, but Obama had that undone. And then there's the National Guard. Will they be used pro-America or to enforce the new socialist America? So this is something to look out for. And conspiracy theorists and politicos said there was a plan to for the U.S. to stay on top. They needed to take out 5 Middle Eastern countries, which were Libya, Egypt, Syria, which they haven't gotten yet, Iraq, and Iran. As you can see, that's well in progress. And then a bigger plan was to make the U.S. like Russia, which is what's occurring now, and to make Russia like the U.S. Now, yesterday there was news that Russia may collapse and succumb under the sanctions. The Soviet Union collapsed around the time of Gorbachev and became what it is now, the USSR, whatever it is now. They've never been strong economically because of their political system. You have to let the entrepreneurs make it happen. The government can never make it happen because they're not smart enough, and they're not ambitious enough, and they're not greedy enough to make it work. Russia is probably the largest landmass in the world besides Africa. They have unbelievable resources in forests, mining, water, oil, gold, nickel, you name it. They've got thousands of miles, millions of square miles of undeveloped land, which they could let the entrepreneurs loose on There's a video on YouTube. There's I think a British man. He owns 2 gold mines in Russia, and they're mining gold, and he gets the gold because he's paying to have it mined out. How many more mines could there be? So things are afoot, and it looks like the U.S. is going socialist, and the 5 countries in the Middle East have been all upset over oil, and petrodollar's in danger, and Russia's in danger of collapse. Behind that is October 26, 2023, next year. The 4 outer gas giants will align in a way that their gravity and magnetism will affect the Earth. And when that happens, usually there's what would look like end times, crustal displacement, earthquakes, upheavals of Earth, volcanoes going up. If enough volcanoes go up, we'll have nuclear winter, which will last 2 to 10 years. Not enough sunlight for food. Only 2 people are talking about that, and I heard one of them, so I'm talking about it. And they've gone back through history looking at increments of this happening. This happens every 10,000 years. And there's 5 little ones of 2,000 years. And next year, the 2,000 and 10,000 are going to coincide. So it will look like end times. And last year they were testing the weather weapons all over Europe. There were unheard of storms, winds, lightning, hail the size of volleyballs. They had rain and flooding in the deserts. They had winds so strong it was blowing cars down the street. And then it just suddenly stopped. So the theory is that when the natural disaster hits, they will also be pushing the weather wars to make it absolutely unconfrontable and either just kill everyone. The plan was to kill 7 billion people and leave 500 million for worker bees. Right now they're paying farmers not to grow crops. They've made a private company, Blackstone, has forced the railways to not ship fertilizer. It didn't take long to find that out. We thought it was the government, but it's private people who are Blackstone, BlackRock. They own half the world. And there's another big company that owns the other half. And saw the CEO last night saying you have to force behavior. So private billionaires are going to force us to downsize, which is what billionaires do. What this is based on is a graph. This would be all possible food production into the future, using absolutely every trick in the book that we know. And the population graph is up here. And this space in between has been deemed a national security problem because they won't be able to feed, house these people. So the people are going to get desperate, and when they're desperate, they're going to come looking for supplies, and that's a national security problem. So as you know, any national security problem can be just murdered. And that's the legal premise for doing this. You are a national security problem. And they are doing it. It's well underway. The 5 countries in the Middle East have been all upset. There's this pending war with Russia, possibly nuclear. Ooh, that's been going on since I was a child. So that's been going on since 1957. Hasn't happened yet, but it's the big stick. So I'm an historian and a scientist, and I've read libraries full of books. It is not necessary to kill everyone. No one wants war, and the 99% of us, if you talk to us, would be willing to make the compromises necessary to save the world. Like now we have unleaded gas, we didn't have before. Now we're recycling, we didn't do that before. The problem is ethics. The elected representatives have been approached, bought out, or blackmailed to get the world into the shape it is now. And they need to be unelected and put anyone else in there. I've often said 65 housewives could straighten the country out in 90 days. Well, we have elections coming up here in Canada for one party, just for the leader, and unlike the U.S. Debates, each one had dug up the real dirt on the other person and their voting history. So every one of them says, I'm the guy and I'm going to save the world. And the next guy would say, here's 5 times you voted against saving the world. How do you explain that? Who is the new you? Who do we believe? It was really embarrassing for everyone. So, I don't know what's going to happen. We got tricked here by our Prime Minister. A lot of people were complaining about his policies. So he said, okay, if you don't like me, let's have an election. So, you let the people speak. So we went, oh, yeah, let's do that. And what it really was a trick to get him elected for the next 4 years again, so it will cover the debacle between, we're in 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. The reset's supposed to happen 25, 26. So he has ensured that he will be in power through the transition period. And if you're watching the news, you've seen that Canada is no longer the friendly, goofy, hockey-playing, beer-drinking paradise it was as made out to be. So I generally wake up at 20 after 4 in the morning, and why that is because I'm lying in bed thinking about all this stuff going, oh no, what will I do? So for evil to succeed, all that is necessary is that good men or women do nothing, and I do this. I've been doing this for 10 years. I had 513 videos, and finally I went a little too far with that, and they went, okay, you're down here. Down the toilet. But I managed to reach 1.2 million people, which is not bad for a girl. When I was 8, I was standing on a street corner, singing doo-wop and snapping my fingers, and I recognized everyone in the neighborhood was unhappy. I decided to do something about it, and I decided I would go into the music business and use happy music and songs to communicate that things weren't as bad as people thought. Although things were as bad as people thought, that was the Russians invading Czechoslovakia at that time. Then we got new neighbors who were refugees from from there. They are smarter than us and spoke English better than us. So there's a old Todd Rundgren song called "There's Something About It That's Mad as a Hatter, Trying to Change the World with a Plastic Platter." I decided to try that. It did not work. And 65 years later, here we are. Celebrities making conspiracy videos in cars. So I will continue to do this until stopped or the weather wars start. Generally, I'm preaching to the converted. Anyone who's watching these videos already knows what's going on, but please prepare for 2 to 4 years of no supplies. If you have a second car, sell it and buy $3,500 worth of storable food. Water filtration. Something to protect your stash. Don't tell anybody. And maybe look at moving out of an urban area, because you see what happens when the stores are empty. They show us videos of people looting. That's in the first 3 days. What about 3 weeks later? We could have cannibalism and roving gangs, armed roving gangs. And you can see this in many movies and TV series. They're telling us what's going to happen. And the next pandemic, there's a war every 80 years, and we're overdue. The 1945, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, 2005, 2015, 2025. A war. And there's a pandemic every 200 years, and or every 100 years, actually. So there's the bigger one is on the way. Bill Gates said the next one will get your attention, and it's probably a combo of Ebola and smallpox. And that may be what's going on in Singapore right now. And more data. The COVID-19 original is 5 times more likely to kill an Oriental male than a Caucasian male, and 3 times more likely to kill an Oriental female than a Caucasian female. So this is a little bit race specific, which is something the crazies have been dreaming about. If you really somebody I want to pick on any race, but if we could come up with a germ that would only kill X race, then we could get rid of them. That's not possible. And however much we don't want it, we're entering the era of biological warfare. Nuclear war didn't work out. It was a little too crazy, the after effects, but biological warfare, everyone just falls over and the infrastructure is left intact. Plus, it's a national security problem. So remember that COVID-19 started with something going on in Wuhan, and they locked the city down. They were locking people in their apartments. They brought semi-trailers of vitamin C to Wuhan. And then, because we're stupid, we let all these flights come out of China, people going to all over the world to visit their friends and their buddies and their daughter-in-laws. And we had a worldwide pandemic. So now the same thing's happening in Singapore. They're locking it down. They're welding people in their apartments. They're promising to bring them food, and then they don't. It's not well organized. So what is it if it's not just another wave of COVID-19? It's something they're reacting to. They shut down the port, which is costing them millions in international trade. So something's going on. And if you want to see something entertaining that warned about this, watch the old Bruce Willis, Madeleine Stowe movie called 12 Monkeys. It's worth it alone to watch Madeleine Stowe chewing up the furniture. This is Madeleine Stowe, Unbounded. This is about some wacko spreading the plague around the world, and mankind winds up living underground because of that. So this thing's pretty well sealed up. The class action lawsuits and blah, 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 blah. Somebody's going to do something. The judges belong to a cult called the Priests of Baal, and they're all in on this. They won't hear a case. Well, it would take one judge to bring somebody down, or it used to be a doctor could say to anybody, I'm declaring you incompetent. You have to give up your job right now. Where's all of that? You used to be able to take, even in the Navy, if the admiral's gone bonkers, the doctor can say, I'm relieving you of duty for psychological reasons. It's a done deal. That's all gone away. So there's no recourse except to elect brand new people. And maybe they can stop some of this stupidity. And my mother had a trunk full of clippings of government corruption, like a pirate chest full. And I was at the time too ignorant to realize what it was. I threw it out. And I have a small box full of paper clippings about corrupt politicians, which I'm not going to use because it just keeps happening. Just another governor, another judge, another member of parliament, another, caught, taking bribes and cocaine, hookers and blow. One of my wives, I married a girl from Europe, and she's from, I won't name the country because they're all bad. She worked in the embassy because she spoke 5 languages, and she had to lay down the law to the government people saying, your wives are calling me all the time to find out which hotel room you are in New York and what you're doing. And I know you're fooling around with hookers and blow, and I'm tired of ping-ponging in the middle, so no more. Again, an eyewitness to something, not hearsay. The phrase going to hell in a handbasket, a tasket, because there are no adults on the job. I see all of these things about being in front of the Senate, whatever committee, scariest place in the world. I think one person's been sent to jail in the last 3 years. and ooh and ah, and he's lying and he's shirked his responsibility, and there's corruption and conspiracy, and people point fingers and say you're a liar, and we have this data, but where's the subpoena and the arrest and 15 to 25 years in jail for treason? Zero. Because they're all withholding their own crimes, and if we convict you for your crime, I may get convicted for my crime. So no one gets convicted. The way back underneath all of this is a book by Sigmund Freud's son. And it's a book using all the psychological data, information that was put together by Freud and Jung to be used against people to sell them stuff. And the book is called Propaganda, which is the underpinning of why things are the way they are. We live in propaganda. It used to be for advertising. Now it's used to manipulate public opinion, to vote people in so they can help their business people, friends, do the non-optimum things that will make them rich and get us less service for our tax dollars. And an appended warning is the book 1984, which you should read. You should watch all 3 movies, and there was a Broadway play that was so stark people were throwing up and running out of the theater. Broadway. Can't beat it. In that world, the people were controlled by the news. They even took the dictionary and took all the adjectives out of it. It was called newspeak. And something, for example, would be good, double good, triple good, or double plus good. But not fantastic or sensual or arousing or bombastic. All that was gone. And the news was mostly about this continuous war that went on to keep people upset. You should check it out. It's where we're now. What do we have now? Problems with Libya, problems with Egypt, problem with Iran, problems with Iraq, problems with Syria. Now we have problems again with Russia and Ukraine. Will Putin bomb London, Paris? What else did he threaten? Berlin. They won't bomb London because that's where all the gold is, so that won't happen. There's a room there in the square mile, and actually, this would be the city of London. It's the size of a football field, and it's full of gold, about 6 feet high. And the Queen went there once, and she said, "I want to see the gold." And they said, "No, make an appointment." She said, "But I'm the Queen. I'm the monarch. I'm the head of all this." And they said, "No, it's not convenient." I do know that if you start a gold mine and you're mining gold, you have to sell it to the city of London. You can't keep it, or sell it to someone else. They control gold worldwide. Interesting. So this turned out better than I thought it would. So get ready. For disaster that will last absolutely minimum 2 years. 700 days, 2,100 meals, thousands of gallons of water, people trying to kill you, people trying to sell your children, people trying to eat your children. And no help. You'll be on your own. I can't even be paranoid because I'm by myself. If I had another person, I'd have a pair, and then we could be paranoid. But no. Well, thanks for listening. Try to get some sleep after this. I'm down by the river. It's probably 7 a.m. I'm watching the submarine races. It's great. I know they're out there.